Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. This is Eagle Check Virtual, so hopefully you're all in the right place. So my name is Lauren Mazio. I am the College Prevention Coordinator here at Brockport. I work for Prevention Outreach Services, which is a branch of Hazen Center for Integrated Care. Hazen Center for Integrated Care, as most of you know by now, is made up of the Health Center, the Counseling Center, and Prevention and Outreach Services. So my job on campus is to do alcohol and drug prevention. And so today we're doing Eagle Check, which is our homegrown bystander intervention program, as well as alcohol education program. And just so you're all aware, we also have Morgan Madonia. She is the graduate assistant for Prevention and Outreach Services. She will be moderating the questions. This is a live event, so you aren't able to turn your camera on, and you're not able to turn your mic on either. But you can ask questions through the question feature, and Morgan will be moderating that. I just want everyone to know we were having small technical difficulties, so if you ask a question and you see that it doesn't get asked, I just ask that you. I'll show her email in a minute. I just ask that you email Morgan your question. She'll be moderating her email as well. So we will be learning about Eagle Check. So this is SUNY Brockport's introductory programming on bystander intervention. Today we'll be exploring many different components of bystander intervention. During this program, please remember to be respectful. I can't hear or see you, but if you could please just put your cell phone away and really try to focus. And we would like to acknowledge that while we're covering many different topics today, the main takeaway we would like you all to leave with is that you have the power to do something. So you have the power to intervene, to step in and make our community a better place. You have the power to report, to support, and to get others involved. This may seem like an overwhelming task to ask of you, but we know that by doing something to help and intervene, you all will be making our campus a safer place. Today, we will talk about ways to intervene that feel comfortable to you. So let's get started. So before we jump into this, and right down there, that's Morgan's email. So if you are having any technical difficulties or you have a question and you see it's not getting asked, please just take a picture of this right now, send Morgan an email, and she'll be moderating her email as well. So before we get started, please scan this QR code on your phone. This will take you to the Eagle Check pre-assessment. And this will be used for attendance and assessment purposes. So if you don't know how to scan the QR code, just take a picture of it, and then the link will pop up at the top. You can click that and then answer the questions. I'll give about 3 minutes. It's really short. There's only 3 questions. So there's a pre-assessment now, and there will be a post-assessment at the end. Give about another minute, and then we'll get going. Okay. So thank you all for taking the pre-assessment. So like I said, this is our homegrown bystander intervention program. So the first thing we like to do is kind of understand, why does the bystander do nothing? So there's a lot of research that seeks to understand why individuals choose to intervene or remain passive in a situation that's potentially risky, dangerous, or in an emergency situation. So there's really 5 facets to understanding why the bystander does nothing. The first is diffusion of responsibility. So this is that situation where, you assume that others will act. So you're not going to do anything because you just assume that someone else is going to help. There's evaluation apprehension. This is really the fear of looking uncool or stupid or foolish. You don't want to intervene because you don't want to look stupid or foolish. There's pluralistic ignorance. So this is when you follow the cues of those around you. So if no one else is doing anything, you're not going to do anything because you're following the cues. Then there's confidence and skills. You're more likely to respond when you know how to respond. So have you developed those intervening skills? If you haven't, then you're most likely not going to intervene. And then there's modeling. So you're more likely to intervene in a situation if you've seen it happen before, so you can model after that. So in the next few slides, please read the prompt and then decide which option you would choose. So, there's no chat feature to this training today. It's really, a lot of this is just reflection and really just learning about the bystander program here at SUNY Brockport. So just reflect on the option that you would choose. So there will be 3 options. So you're confident in intervening, you're somewhat confident in intervening, and you're not confident in intervening. So I'll bring up the prompts, you can read them and reflect, and I'll give you a little time to reflect before I move to the next one. So prompt 1, you're walking through campus and you see someone throw their disposable coffee cup on the ground. Are you confident in intervening, somewhat confident in intervening, or not confident in intervening? I'll give you a couple seconds here to reflect and figure out which choice you would make. Prompt 2, you're on alumni walk and you see someone crying at a picnic table. Are you confident in intervening, somewhat confident in intervening, or not confident in intervening? You hear yelling coming from the room next door to yours in your dorm room. Are you confident in intervening, somewhat confident in intervening, or not confident in intervening? Prompt 4, you're with your friends and your friend makes a derogatory joke. Are you confident in intervening, somewhat confident in intervening, or not confident in intervening? In prompt 5, you're walking through campus with your friends and you see someone who is very visibly intoxicated walking by themselves. Are you confident in intervening, somewhat confident in intervening, or not confident in intervening? So the reality is it can be hard to eagle check or intervene, even when you want to. Barriers are things that often stop us from getting involved. Think back to your answers to the situations we just went over and reflect on what barriers were present for you. So there's really 3 types of barriers that we talk about, personal, relationship, and general. So you may have just had one type of barrier when you reflect on the prompts we just went over, or you may have experienced all 3. So personal barriers are barriers like being shy or afraid or unsure or not wanting to make a scene or embarrass yourself. Relationship or social barriers look like being afraid of what your peers will think, or being afraid of, being the snitch in a situation, or being afraid or being the one who doesn't know how to have a good time. And then there's those general barriers like assuming that other people are going to take care of it, or if no one else is concerned about it, it's probably not a big deal, or assuming that everyone in college is doing it, so why should you speak up? no matter what your barriers are, we know that they're not going to just magically disappear. We know that whatever barriers you have now, you're still going to have at the end of this training. So what we really want you to do is think about what would be realistic for you, even with your barriers, to help protect your new nest. So a main takeaway from EagleCheck is the 3 Ds. So you will hear about EagleCheck for your next 4 years here at SUNY Brockport. You will hear about the 3 Ds all the time. Everyone always says the saying like eagle check yourself before you eagle wreck yourself. It started as a joke, but it actually has kind of turned into a thing. So the 3 Ds are a quick way to remember the options you have to intervene and account for your potential barriers. So the 3 Ds are direct, delegate, and distract. So direct means that you know exactly what it says. So you do something yourself, like you ask someone to stop what they're doing or check on someone you might be worried about. So direct means you directly intervene in a situation. Delegate means, again, exactly what it says. If you can't do something yourself because of your barriers, you ask your friends to help. You talk to a trusted RA, a coach, a faculty or staff member, or a trusted peer. Or perhaps you tell the bartender or ask a family friend to check in. So this is where you're delegating to someone else to intervene because of your own personal barriers. You can't do it yourself. And then distract is if you don't want to address the situation directly or even acknowledge you see it. You think of a distraction that will diffuse the situation or calm things down in the moment. So a distraction might be, accidentally spilling a drink to take the attention off of the situation, asking to borrow someone's phone of someone who's in a risky situation, asking for a ride, or starting an unrelated conversation altogether. So it doesn't matter what type of EagleCheck that you do. The most important thing is that you think of EagleChecks or interventions that feel realistic to you. So we're going to be going over prompts again. These ones are a little more in depth. There's 3 of them. I do want to say that, going forward, some of these situations, they talk about parties, or being in large gatherings. Obviously, that's not something that's happening right now, but everything won't be like in this COVID context forever. So we still want you to have these tools once things kind of shift back to that normal that we keep hearing about. So I'll read each prompt out loud. Please follow along and decide whether you would directly intervene with either the individual doing harm or the person who harm is being done to. Delegate if you would intervene by delegating, and distract if you would intervene by distracting those involved. Give me 1 second to read over that.
Can you hear me, Lauren?
Yep.
So we have, I apologize, everyone. I did not see the Q&As before. I was on the wrong tab. We have a few of them. One is, what if we were doing this from our phone? How do we get to the link? So at the end, we might have, I don't know, that they were talking about the QR code.
Oh, yeah.
In the beginning.
Yep.
And then another person said, too, how do we know it will be submitting the form because it doesn't ask for our banner ID? And then someone else said, I can't get it to work. Okay,
that's okay. We have the list of attendees that are in this right now. So if you can get the QR code to work, that would be great. But if you're on your phone so you can't get to it, if it wasn't working for you, that's okay. So the QR code was really just kind of a secondary form to take attendance.
2 more questions that just came in.
Okay.
The first one, where do you want me to voice them to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first one is, where do we answer which one we would do? And then someone else asked, how do we get credit for this?
Okay, so for the first one, where do we answer which one we would do? There's no chat feature for this, so it's just reflecting. Hopefully that answers the question. And then how do we get credit for this? So we have the list of attendees that are in it right now, and we work in conjunction with your APS class. Hopefully that answers your questions, but please keep asking them if there's any more. Do you see any more right now, Morgan?
Nope, that is it for now. But yeah, if your questions didn't get answered, just let us know. And Lauren, is it okay if I dismiss the ones that you answered just so I can see when new ones come in?
Yeah.
All right.
I'll also share my email at the end of this, like if there's any more questions, if there were issues with the QR code. It's just if you were able to answer it, that's very helpful, but that's just a secondary way for us to keep attendance. I have a list of attendees. Okay, any more questions you see, Morgan?
Yep, it says that the email listed is not able to receive emails. Let me see if I can put my email in the chat. And there we go. I just sent it to all of you. So yeah, you can shoot me an email. And
yeah. So I'm wondering. Oh, it's probably because I might have put a 0 instead of an O. So yeah. I could. But okay. Do you see any more questions?
Nope.
Okay. And you could cut in again if any come up. Okay, so I'm just going to go over this slide again. So I'm going to read each prompt out loud. Please follow along and decide whether you would directly intervene with either the individual doing harm or the person who harm is being done to. Delegate if you would intervene by delegating, or distract if you would intervene by distracting those involved. So these are, before I switch to the next slide, these are long. I'm going to read them to you. So this is the first scenario. You and a couple of your friends meet up every Wednesday in the Union Square to get lunch after class. You are talking to your friends about the various things that have happened in the day when you start to notice the conversation at the table next to you. There is a group of students of various identities at the table, and they are all laughing and sharing jokes with each other. A couple of the tables around are also looking over at the same table because of all the laughter. You hear one of the people at the table tell a racist joke, and their friends at the table all start laughing. When you look at one of the neighboring tables, you see a person who is studying by themselves, looking visibly upset by the joke that was just made. So hearing this prompt, and I'm going to give you, a minute to read it over again, just reflect on whether you feel you would directly intervene in this situation, use a distraction, or delegate. And to go back to the question asked earlier, you don't have to answer in the chat or anything. This is just you reflecting on the situation. So I'll give you a minute to read over this.
Someone else just said, are there questions for us to answer throughout this? But yeah, what Lauren just said, there's no chat or anything. You can just answer them kind of to yourself, go over what you would do in those scenarios. Is that right?
Yep. Thank you, Morgan.
Yep.
Okay, so thinking about the 3 Ds, direct, delegate, and distract, if we were to be doing this in person, we would be able to have these conversations, but we're just going to go over examples of what direct, delegate, or distract can look like for these scenarios. So again, I just want to reiterate, you're not answering the questions anywhere, you're just reflecting, you're answering them to yourselves. That's kind of how the live events work. So if you chose direct, so if you read the situation and you said, yes, I would directly intervene, these are just some examples of what you could possibly do. So you could talk to the people at the table who made the jokes and express that they aren't funny and you're in a public space. They shouldn't be using language that is offensive. Or you could change course and talk to the person who is studying but now is visibly uncomfortable and ask them if they are okay or if they would like your help in any way. So these are just some examples. Obviously, you may have come up with more to yourself. So if you chose distract, you might go over to the table that made the joke and start a random conversation, maybe pretend to be taking a poll for a class or asking if any of them had ever taken a class with a certain professor. And if you chose delegate, you may go talk to one of the union managers. So the union managers are some of the staff and students that you'll see working at the union. So you might go talk to the union managers and explain to them what is happening, ask them to say something to the group. And then you could also file a report on the bias-related incident reporting service. So this would be considered a bias-related incident, and SUNY Brockport has a bias-related incident report. Honestly, the easiest way to find that is to just Google bias-related incident Brockport, and it will bring you right to the page where you can file the report. So again, there are many ways to intervene. It's important to understand your own personal comfort level and safety when deciding on how to intervene. As a member of the Brockport community, we simply ask that you stand up for your fellow Eagles. Okay, scenario 2, again, I'm going to read it, give you some time to reflect, and then we'll go over examples. So the first couple of weeks of school are going great. You have met new friends, figured out where all of your classes are, and even feel confident in your schoolwork. You stayed up until 1 a.m. studying for an exam that is the next day and then crawled into bed. You're looking through your Snapchat stories when you see one from a classmate who is in your class with the exam tomorrow. You're looking through your Snapchat stories when you see one from a classmate who is in your class with the exam tomorrow. The two of you are friends in class, but have never hung out outside of a class before. The snap was just posted 20 minutes ago and has the caption, "I can't take this much longer." What do you do? So I'm going to give you a minute to read this over, and then we'll go over again. Okay, so would you directly intervene, use a distraction, or delegate? So if you chose directly intervene, there's a few different ways you could do this. Obviously, we don't have an exhaustive list. You may have come up with different ways. So you could DM them and ask if everything is okay. Or you could wait until you see them in class tomorrow and check in, maybe see if they want to go get a coffee after the exam. That is, if this is an in-person class. If you chose distract, you could start a conversation with them on a different social media platform, or you could text them, you could just text them to check in. Or if you're distracting, you could text with a funny video or a meme or really anything and say, just in case you need some stress relief from this exam like I do. But if you choose to delegate in this situation, you do have some options. So you could call the RA on duty and ask them what you should do. Or if you know the RA in your friend's building, you can ask them to go check on them. Report it to university police or the online form folks can fill out when they are concerned. Or tell a mutual friend about the snap and see if they could check in on them. So maybe you're not really, really good friends with them, but you do know someone that's like their best friend. You could send them a text and say, I saw so-and-so Snapchat story. Could you just check in with them? So it's very common and normal for students to feel overwhelmed during the first couple weeks on campus. If you notice your friend starting to display some signs that are concerning, maybe skipping meals, not engaging as much, or posting things on social media, we really ask that you speak up and say something. So sometimes people just need someone to check in with them. And then depending on your level of comfort with your friend, you may want to reach out to faculty or staff that they may know, just so that they can check in and that student can get some additional support. So the Office of Student Conduct has a form that you can fill out if you're concerned about someone as well. So again, I would say the easiest way to find it is just to Google like student of concern form, and it will bring you right to the form that you could fill out. It's anonymous and it will go to the Office of Student Conduct so that they know that this is a student that they could check on. They'll probably just send an RA to go check on that student, make sure everything's okay. And then really what we ask is that if you feel something's off or you see something, we ask that you say something. So scenario 3, You and a friend who live in the same residence hall are hanging out as you pregame with a group of other people who live on their floor. Your friend has been under a lot of stress about school and starts taking shots of tequila. After they've had several shots in about 30 minutes, they're so wasted they can hardly hold themselves up. Another person in the room encourages them to do more shots. Would you directly intervene, use a distraction, or delegate? Give you a second to read that over, a minute to read that over. Okay. So if you choose to directly intervene, an example of doing this would be just talking to your friend and letting them know that it's time to leave and that you'll walk your drunk friend back to their room. Maybe you chose delegate. So you could leave the party and talk to the RA or RD to report your concern. Or you can have your friend who brought the person pushing the shots to talk to them about not forcing anyone to drink. And if you choose distract, you can tell others at the party that you received a text that university police is walking the halls to check for underage drinking. So the main thing here is that you recognize that it's time to stop drinking and what could happen if you do nothing. So there's a potential for alcohol poisoning here. So Party Smart is something that you will see again for your next 4 years here at SUNY Brockport. It is a alcohol awareness campaign that we run, and it is everywhere. So in the last scenario, we talked briefly about a student having too much to drink at a party. What we know is that there's approximately 1,825 college students who die each year from alcohol-related causes. These deaths occur for a variety of causes, including alcohol poisoning, automobile accidents, falls, and other types of accidents. So Party Smart is not an oxymoron. There are ways to stay safe while partying or gathering. So we just want you again to remember, protect the nest. If someone is displaying signs of alcohol poisoning, please make the call to get them help. So to know the signs of alcohol poisoning, we just remember your cups. So CUPS. So these are the signs of alcohol poisoning. So cold skin and confusion, unresponsive, puking, slow breathing, and seizures. So again, cups is just a quick way to remember the signs of alcohol poisoning. Important to remember that this is not a checklist. If one sign is present, it may be alcohol poisoning. So you do not have to have all 6 signs of alcohol poisoning to have alcohol poisoning. It's not a checklist. So check in with them, see if they can hold a conversation with you or are they coherent. And always make the call. So call 911, call university police, the RA or RD. So the school has a Good Samaritan policy. Policy point-outs are really important. So the term Good Samaritan is used to refer to a student who summons medical attention for a person, including themselves, in need of medical assessment and or treatment for a problem that they may have contributed to or caused by participating in the use and abuse of alcohol or other drugs. So the college does not condone violations of the Code of Student Conduct or state and federal laws, but it does take into consideration potentially life-saving actions of students who act as Good Samaritans by reducing the disciplinary actions associated with alcohol or other drug use violations, including limited immunity to campus student conduct charges. So all of this really just means that the college is more interested in the health and safety of our students than getting students in trouble with the student conduct, the Office of Student Conduct. So there's obviously a ton of ways that you could stay safe and party smart. I didn't want to list all of them because I want you to reflect and think of ways that you could stay safe and party smart. But these are just some. So knowing your limits for drinking alcohol and making sure you stick to them, pacing yourself and measuring your drinks, spacing out your drinks with non-alcoholic drinks, so mixing in a water, never mixing alcohol with prescription medications or other drugs, even caffeine. If you take a prescription medication every day, it wouldn't hurt to look up the synergy or what happens if you drink alcohol with that prescription medication. So certain medications have a synergistic effect with alcohol. And don't forget to eat. And then I added, can you think of any more? Because there are lots more. So the school also has a policy for alcohol or drug use amnesty in sexual violence cases. So this is important, and I am going to go over it. So make sure you're really trying to pay attention to this. So the health and safety of every student at SUNY Brockport, got to update that, is of the utmost importance. The college recognizes that students who have been drinking and or using drugs, whether such use is voluntary or involuntary, at the time of that violence, including but not limited to domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, or sexual assault occurs, may be hesitant to report such incidents due to fear of potential consequences for their own conduct. So the college strongly encourages students to report incidents of sexual violence to college officials. A bystander acting in good faith, or someone who may have been a victim of sexual violence acting in good faith, who discloses any incident of domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, or sexual assault to college officials or law enforcement will not be subject to the college's student code of conduct for violations of alcohol or drug use policies occurring or near the time of commission of domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, or sexual assault. So we're at the end here. I know it says that it's an hour, but it's much shorter. If we were in person, it would be longer because we'd be able to have those in-person discussions. But it wouldn't hurt to take a picture of this. So there are many resources on campus. You can always turn to your resident assistants or resident directors. University police, call them if there's an emergency on campus. Village police and 911. Also a resource for you, Hazen Center for Integrated Care. We have Restore Sexual Assault Services. We have a Restore Sexual Assault advocate on campus as well that you can speak with, who is a confidential resource. We have the Title IX office. So this is for services related to sexual assault, sexual harassment, or relationship violence. We have the Academic Success Center for academic support. And then we have Prevention and Outreach Services, which I work for, and the Center for Select Respect for Education. So to wrap it up, we really want you to take home that you have the power to do something. So you have the power to intervene, to step in to make our community a better place. You have the power to report, support, and get others involved. So I know this seems overwhelming, but just know that by doing something to help and intervene, you'll always make our campus a safer place. So main takeaways is don't forget the 3 Ds. So directly intervene in a situation, delegate responsibility to another person or people, or create a distraction to de-escalate the situation. It is important to consider your own personal safety and your comfort level when deciding how to intervene. And as a member of Brockport, we simply ask that your choice be to do something because this is now your home. So if you're able to, please scan this QR code and take the post assessment. I just want to reiterate, so you don't have to reach out to Morgan. If it's not working for you, that's okay. If it is working for you, please take the post assessment. It's 3 questions. It's really quick. I have a list of attendees. So this was just a secondary way to take attendance as well, and also because we want to use the pre and post assessment. So I'll give a minute here. And again, if you have any questions, now is a good time to ask. Morgan, again, is still moderating. And Morgan, if you could put my email in the chat, if anyone wants to directly reach out to me as well, you could do that.
All right, I just put your email and name in the chat, lmazio@brockport.edu, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
There are not at the moment.
Okay. So we can wait a minute here and see if any more questions come in, but if there's not, just thank you everyone for attending this. Have a great semester. Remember to wear your mask, wash your hands, and to always protect the nest.
How do we do the assessment if we are on our phone?
If you're on your phone and you can't access the assessment, that's totally fine. We were just using it as a secondary way to take attendance, but if you're on your phone, it's okay. You don't have to take the assessment. If you are able to take it, then please do. Okay, any more questions, Morgan?
Nope.
Okay, great. Thank you again so much, everyone, and have a wonderful semester.